Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is a fantastic crowd. I was hoping we'd get something like this here because the last thing you want to do is run an event and nobody wants to come near you. My name's Russell Stewart. I'm the proud chair of Narrabri District Chamber of Commerce. For those who don't know me, Chamber is always particularly keen on working with our council and all of our representatives, regardless of what group they come from. And we've got a strong history, long, strong and proud history of that. Chamber kicked off in 1927 in this town. And we're still going. And I was asked the other day whether I was the regional president. And I said, I've got feelings. And he was serious. But it's terrific to have you here tonight. You know, the reason we're holding this is, look, Narrabri Shire has never, ever, in my time, been in such a critical position going forward over the next few years to make or break the ratepayers, local community and those of us who are committed to the town. Geographically, you know, we're so fortunate. We've got the best farming land in the world, some of the best farmers in the world. We've always had those. Geographically now we've got the biggest coal seam gas field. I understand what I've been told, the biggest coal seam gas field in New South Wales. That's been good, depending on your view, of course. The Chamber's view is that's good. We've got the coal. Geographically, we've got the best coal in the world. That's why it's in demand. And we've also now been, as you know, designated a special activation precinct for the Inland Rail. Now, you all know the Inland Rail in itself isn't going to make Narrabri or any town it goes through. It's up to us. It's up to us to ride off the back of that and build Narrabri off the back of it. It won't be the government, other than the SAP money that's coming in here. It'll be off the back of our quality people to say this is what we want, this is how we want to link with Inland Rail. We've already got the site. Council got off bought some earlier. They have it sitting out there. You know where it is, and that looks like it'll fit in very well. That's not me for a call, it's you to call. Every candidate, and it's been fantastic, clearly everybody's interested because I've never seen so many candidates. I think there was 23 all up. So tonight we'll be hearing, we've got 4 away. We have an apology from Ron Campbell, the Mayor. He's in Weewaw at a meeting with Weewaw Chamber of Commerce in relation to the new Weewaw High School. Couldn't get out of that, he's doing a presentation. Also away at that meeting, who's an apology, is John Tully, who's the president of Weewaw Chamber of Commerce. He's there. We have an apology from Lloyd Finlay, who's at Harvest. Can understand that. We have an apology from Cameron Staines, who's driving a wheat truck and couldn't get out of it, and that's fair enough. The only person we haven't heard from is Councillor Ron Campy, and I'm not sure whether Ron's about, but we haven't heard back from him. Apology? Terrific. Okay, we'll note that as apology. We just haven't heard back, that's all. So, folks, the rules for tonight, in order to try and finish at a reasonable hour, we've only given everybody 5 minutes. And it might sound a short time, but if we run 13 people, 14 people, she'll hear it 10 minutes. And we know you're going to run over here at some stage. We're going to be here all night. So what we're after what Chamber's after from the candidates tonight is to hear what they represent and where they see us going and why you should give them your vote. Why should they be given your vote and why should they represent the largest business in town, which you're a shareholder of? Why should they be there? This will be videoed tonight, word for word. This video will go onto the Chamber website. And for those people that aren't here tonight to talk, we will catch up with them in the next few days. They will be interviewed the same as the people here tonight with the same amount of time. We will have notepads there for you to put questions to those absent candidates in a box, and those questions will be put to them in front of the camera when Jamie and I can get to them in the next few days. So on the Chamber website, you will have all candidates represented on that website for you to access down the track.
So for the last 4 years since moving from Gunnedah to Boggabri, my husband, 3 children and I have been fortunate enough to call the Narrabri Shire home. We're a young family and my husband and I have built our careers here, he in mining, I in real estate management. We love our little town, the community and the lifestyle. When not at work, you'll find us at the local pool, the beautifully maintained parks or the rugby fields. We really value what we have and we see even greater potential. When people ask me why I've decided to run for council, my answer is simple. I want to see the whole Shire thrive. Our current council has set us up well to capitalise on the opportunities on offer. So it is essential that our next council is harmonious and continues to work well together, and that we get things right. We need a unified council that will work in the interest of all the ratepayers in the Shire. We can't afford now to step backwards. We need to take the exciting trajectory forward that has already been started. Our local council should be made up of free-thinking, independent individuals who are running in it for the right reasons. Without this, how can we be assured that we're being advocated for? My vision for Narrabri Shire is to see growth, not just in mining, but in all areas. We need to make sure the Shire's economy is sustainable if a major industry player was to leave. I want to see a 10 to 15-year plan made that's broken into 5-year increments with bold goals to meet the demands for housing and workforce availability. We need to offer people great careers and the security of a home. This takes planning. And what about our ageing population? We need housing to suit their needs and services to enable them to continue to thrive and be as independent as possible. The role I will play if elected will be to advocate for the whole Shire, not just one or two areas. I want to be part of building a prosperous future full of opportunity for your family and for mine. I'm invested in the good of every person of every town in the Shire. Together we are stronger. From conversations I've had with people from Weewar to Boggabri, the message they keep telling me is that they're sick of being forgotten. They see themselves not being part of the bigger picture, that things are started but not finished. This is something that I want to change. We need to improve council communications and improve stakeholder engagement within the community. Through my work in the community daily over the whole Shire, I'm fortunate enough to meet with those families and businesses thinking of moving to town, through to people who have lived in the Shire their whole lives. When people move from another location, they generally always want the same thing: a safe home, a great school, and healthcare facilities. Although schools and hospitals are not local government areas that we can fix as a council, we certainly can step up and advocate to the state and federal government to help better what we already have. I represent the next generation of leaders of our Shire. As well as being a younger female family voice, I understand how much our council needs to get things right. We need a council that will be more transparent and that provides community consultation. Now more than ever, it is imperative that we have quality leadership. I promise not to pretend that I know everything, but to be an approachable advocate for the whole Shire.
Thank you. So thanks, Crystal. You didn't look too nervous to me. You went well. Folks, have we got any questions with Crystal?
Hello, my name's Tully Summers. I'm here to talk about the youth.
Yep.
Our children are being forgotten in Narrabri. We are the only place between Gunda to Moree to Dwyer that does not have a PCYC. And as much as a future we have with all the businesses coming in, there's nowhere to go for the children.
Yeah. No, I completely understand. So coming from Gunnedah, we are heavily involved, my business, through local sporting facilities and that sort of thing, and that has been one of our considerations when moving to town. I can't guarantee that things will change because I'm not part of council and I can't make up something that's going to happen in the future, but I definitely think that having something like that is really, really essential for children to be able to go to after school and to be able to meet with their peers, as well as elders who can show them a better way.
Thank you. Time up. Thanks for the question. Thank you very much. I've got a question.
Oh, okay.
This is going to be it's a chamber question. How do you see, if you became a councillor, fortunate to represent this wonderful community, how do you see an alignment between Narrabri Chamber of Commerce and Narrabri Shire Council? Where do you see an alignment there?
I feel like the council should be very open in everything that they do, that there should be communication with everything that we do, that there shouldn't be a situation that we hold something from the chamber that could help better the town.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks very much. Darrell Tiemens, number 2. Welcome, Darrell.
Thanks, Russell. Thanks everyone. It's a lot more intimidating out the front than it is back there on that last row. So my name's Darrell Tiemens. I'm currently, I run a business in Narrabri. I've been living here for about 12 years. I employ local people. I've also got a mixed grazing property up in the hills. And I'm very heavily involved in a lot of voluntary organisations around the town. Many of you probably would have known me as the face of Knox for a little while, and I think we did a pretty good job in getting that on the stage. I'm also heavily involved in also the local town fire brigade, involved in Future EDU, involved in Rotary, involved in the Chamber, involved in industrial networks. So I like getting involved in stuff, and if I was to give anyone a tip on happiness in life, and that is getting involved in volunteering. And to me, getting involved in the Chamber getting involved in being on council is just another way that we can all contribute. People often come up to me and say, I'd like to do, I reckon we should have more of this, we should do more of that, and we should do all this type of stuff. And my reply to a lot of people is, well, why don't you get in there and give it a go? If there are issues and problems around town, why don't you get in there and try and improve it? And so that's what I'm going to do. I said I'd do it. I got talked out of it last time, but I thought this time I'm going to give it a jolly good go. I'm staunchly independent. I refuse to take any donations or be associated with any of the groups or parties, and I'm going to stick to that. And I've got no vested interest. My only interest is really just ensuring that we have a future that is thriving and successful in this. Thank you. Thriving and successful in this town. I think we're on the peak of. I think we're at the precipice of some really, really good things in this town. I think we are naturally the regional capital of this area. I think we do have a lot of opportunities, both geographically and resource-wise, just people-wise. I love the fact that I can run a business right on the main street of town there, and I've got clients in Perth, Adelaide, Brisbane, Sydney. Haven't got any overseas clients yet, but the fact that we can do these types of things with the NBN that we've got and a number of other things, and even just the young people of this area that have got the get up and go and really want the opportunities. I want the future in Narrabri to be one that's really good for families. It's really good for young people, where they've got a place to come back to, and they've got a place to basically build and have great families and build other businesses, etc. I've heard a lot of figures bandied around that we're going to double in size over the next 10 years. Well, that's great, but we've got a lot of planning to do, and we certainly have a lot of thinking to do about that. And that's where I'm going to really apply my thinking and my leadership. Over the years, I've led teams that have had $10 million, multi-million dollar budgets. I've led a group of 250 staff, etc., over the years, and I've come to Narrabri about 12 years ago, and I settled here, and I have never been happier in all my life. I love this area. I love the people in it, and I feel very fortunate. I keep telling people that they've got to try and discover how good it is living in regional Australia, particularly towns like Narrabri. And I just really look forward to the future that we're all going to create together in a really positive way, and just I really want to make sure that all of us share the benefits that come from the expansion of business and a number of other things over the next few years. Because if we don't share it amongst the broad community, then I think we're going to be in trouble. We're going to end up with a great deal of inequality, that we can see in some of the neighbouring towns. The reason Narrabri is one of the lowest crime areas in all of New South Wales is for exactly that reason. We tend to share things together, and we tend to not just hog the benefits for the very few. So yeah, that's my opinion, and look forward to your support. Thank you.
Terrific, thanks, Darrell. Do we have any questions of Darrell? One up the back. Okay.
Kath Hamilton. I might add that I am Darrell's mother-in-law, so I'll bring in the family part. But I know how keen and how much Darrell has had to do with the outer areas. And I think, Darrell, what has been your experience with the other parts of the Shire, such as Pilliga and Burren, Boggabri, Ballatta, Edgeroy, Weebore especially?
Yep. It wasn't just me, but our entire Rotary Club is very heavily involved in a lot of drought work where we were able to distribute, it was over $1 million worth of drought assistance, but I don't want to really use Rotary as a platform for that. That was just something that we did as drought assistance. But I really believe that it shouldn't just be Narrabri that enjoys all the benefits of what's the goodness that we've got around this Shire, but it certainly needs to be the people of Cutterbri and the people of Edgeroy and Ballatta and Maules Creek and all of those great regions, and we've all basically got to share the benefits of that, whether it be better roads, whether it be better infrastructure in our leading centres, or whether it be just greater support services, etc., etc. But we all really do need to share that love, and it shouldn't just be about the big towns. It should also be about the little villages and the people that need greater support in those areas as well. Yep.
So, standard question: if we had a Councillor Tiemens, how would Councillor Tiemens see the relationship and any partnerships between Narrabri Chamber of Commerce and Narrabri Shire Council?
I think a community is built up of families, individuals, businesses and organisations, and businesses are a very, very important part of the overall functioning of our community. So not only the Chamber but also the Industrial Network, other organisations that represent, whether it be Weewar, Chamber, etc., all need to have a close and good working and respectful relationship with the Shire. So I would work towards that, and a very good, open, transparent relationship between business and the council.
Tremendous, thanks, Darrell.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Number 3, Les Knox.
Good evening. Yeah, Les Knox, as he says, I think. Look, I'm a passionate Narrabri resident. I've grown up here, and I tell people, wherever I go, I'm lucky I grew up in Narrabri. I had problems in Sydney when I managed a pub there with Aboriginal people. They come and ask me, why are you working for a white fella? Well, I said, I'm learning something, I'm earning some money. Sorry, I can't feel the way you do because I grew up in Narrabri. And wherever I've gone, I've always talked about Narrabri. I'll tell you a little story. I worked in the employment area in Sydney in placing people in jobs. I was the first one to place an Aboriginal Qantas. It was one of my strengths there, and also I worked in education as well. And I was taking a young girl for an interview at 2KY radio in Parramatta one day, and getting in the lift, I heard this voice behind me. I was thinking, oh, I know that voice. And looked around, sure enough, I had a butt rose. Anyway, she was coming up in the lift with me at the same floor I was on, and we started having a chat. And by the end of it, she knew all about Narrabri, and she said to me, yeah, I've heard that about Narrabri. So Narrabri has got a good reputation by a lot of people, people have heard it everywhere. One of the reasons I like to run for council, I was on a few years ago, but I've been out doing other things, and I've been very lucky to do a lot of projects that have helped youth develop. Now, the young lady talking about youth in the town, I've been around talking to people, and I'd like to see more parks in the area, where not just here in the main street, but up around parts of the town where there's vacant area, so the local kids can go and play, instead of running around the street of a night. I've got a lot of good ideas, I think, which I'd like to put to council if I get on there, and hope they can come to fruition. Talking about the street, I think our main street needs a little bit more help there to, particularly with people getting across the road, the elderly, the less fortunate who are going to be in wheelchairs. And where we've got the down the middle there, maybe about halfway along, put a little gap there so people can go across there instead of having to walk right up to the crossways and then back again down to the shop or to the bank. But like I said, I'm always passionate about Narrabri, and I'd like to get on there and try and work with the local council to help identify and put things in place to have things done.
Thanks, Les. And how could I not believe what Ida tells me to?
Yeah.
I didn't make that
Lovely
up.
lady.
I didn't make that. Don't go away, Les. Thanks very much. Have we got any questions for Les? No? No questions? You're lucky, Les. You've been let off lightly. Okay. Thanks, Les. So the number 4 ticket for the night is Rohan Boehm. Welcome down. Come on down. Thanks, Rohan.
Well, thanks, Russell. Thanks. Great to see everybody here. One of the reasons there's a Melbourne Cup type field running in the council this time round is not because everyone loves what's happening in council, because the absolute unvarnished truth is that things are not going at all well, despite what you might read in the advertorials in the local newspaper and all over the place. We've set up Community First because we believe community comes first, always. It comes before the vested interests that we all know about that exist in our council. So we have 5 policies, and when I get elected to council, I'm very happy to be accountable for every one of these 5 policies. The first thing is we've got to stop the waste. Now, I know there is a very significant waste going on, and I'm very happy to talk at length about that. Then, addressing the waste, next thing comes addressing the efficiency, because there is significant loss of efficiency right across the operations of this council. That needs to stop. We need councillors who are experienced, knowledgeable, cohesive and capable of making sure that our council runs well and runs efficiently. And the important thing then is to focus on common sense to make sure all these outer towns and all of the facilities that we all talk about, our parks and walkways and community centres all across this shire, can only really be met if the funds and the resources are available. If the funds are wasted and lost through inefficiencies, there's absolutely no way that those great resources can occur in those outlying towns and our own, in the bigger town here of Narrabri and Weewar. So accountability and transparency for the councillors is absolutely imperative, and I'll be very happy to always stand on my record of having delivered efficiency and cost savings. And the other part of it is that there is a loss of real and genuine consultation in our community. There's a few kind of councils pretend that they're consulting. There's a whole stack of communities that I'm talking with regularly who are not being consulted at all, and I want that to change. And finally, we need to stick in behind our state government and follow the halving of CO2 emissions by 2030 and to go net zero by 2050. We can do that, and not only we do that, but we can save a vast amount of money on energy. Well over $1 million spent on energy in this council. That could be reduced by half very, very easily. So when it comes to what I've done in this town and what I've been doing in this town, I have 2 state significant developments in renewable energy that will be occurring in this shire in the next 5 years. I've got nearly $100 million worth of projects in the next 5 years in renewable energy happening in this shire, and significantly more across the northwest. We really need to become the energy hub of the northwest, and we can create the leadership, and we can create the energy and the finances and the sustainability of our council to make sure we can afford all of those things that we really want. So thank you very much. I will answer your question.
Yes, and Knoxy, you got away without answering that question, I've been reminded, so you'll be back down here in a minute.
A lot of the stuff that's going on in council is that council think that they are completely alone, right? The Chamber is a really important institution. I'm a member of it. I'm very happy to be a member of the Chamber. this is the consultation, this is the collaboration, this is the community engagement that is missing, that has to stop, has to be fixed. And it's not only this town, it is right across all of our communities. Consultation has to be real, it has to be visible, and we have to take notice of what the community want. And we have to make sure we have the funds through cost savings. I've identified over $2 million per year without changing the budget with anything. That is in staffing, management of staff. I know there's 42 people as of this week have left in the last 2 years. We have 8 people managing human resources in our council. 8 people, that is nearly $1 million worth of expense to manage the people who are continually leaving and continually coming back in. Those are the things that have got to get fixed, and you have to have a council cohesive and capable, absolutely capable to do that. Now, I'm a qualified company director. I've run very big businesses. I run a business here, I've run one in Tamworth. So, look, we can do this, but we've got to be really careful about electing people that can do it.
Okay. Is there any questions? Yes. They're all at the top, Cheryl, right at the top. Yeah. Thanks, Ron. Question?
Yeah, thanks, Ron. Fiona Robertson. Very keen to hear you saying about the waste that's being spent with the council. Just a question, are you aware that in regards to the Inland Rail, that the current route they've chosen, if they choose the other route that has been proposed, they will save $100 million. Are you aware of that?
I am aware of it.
Yeah,
and what I am aware of is that the councillors have been asleep at the wheel, most of them.
Yes.
There's 1 or 2 that are trying, I've got to say that. And give my apologies to Ron Campy, who's out in the paddock, but there's very few people who've actually really stood up for the community in this regards. Most of them are just letting it wash through because, ARTC, they're the big guys, we better let them come through.
Thank you very much. Aesthetically, it will, I believe, and a lot of people do believe, it will destroy the look of Narrabri.
I think it's a travesty. This is the worst possible decision, and councillors, current sitting councillors and the ones before, are directly responsible because they have not been prepared to stand up to management and say, this is what we want, here are our priorities, let's do it.
Thanks, Rohan. It's been terrific. Thank you, mate.
There's a conflict of interest there, Rohan, so thank you very much.
Thank you for your question. Thank you. Number five, Brett Dickinson.
I'm a local born and bred. I was born in Narrabri and raised in Weewar, educated in Weewar, and I worked at Nemoi Cotton for a long time in the 80s as an electrician. Then I joined the family business we had an earth moving business. That business is still running. I'm not part of it anymore. It's owned by my brother, who actually contracts to council. He tells me some of the things that go on. He does mention the waste. We purchased land out of Yarra Lake. We had cattle and sheep and crops and stuff like that. And so this time last year I sold the property and moved in with my partner, Leah, on Capitar Road. So I'm Weewar, but because my on my electoral form it says Narrabri, I'm now Narrabri. But like I say, it's the whole district. It's not just 1 or 2 towns. We need to make sure that we look after everybody. I did work for council for 13 years. I remember 2004 I went for an interview and got a job and spoke with Robert Neal. Before that, when I was contracting to council, on a road, Spring Plains Road, there was a huge hole, and Robert came out and he said, Brett, what are we going to do here? And I said, first, find the bloke who's in charge of this road and sack him, because it shouldn't have got this bad. That's one of the problems we're having now. Things are going on for too long and they're not getting fixed quick enough. And we get this poly speak that we've got to wait for grants, we've got to wait for this, we've got to wait for that. Have we got to wait for someone to die on our roads? Because it's getting worse and worse, and someone needs to stand up and take control of it. I reminded Bob about that the other day and we had a bit of a laugh, but anyway, we fixed the hole and I don't think it's there anymore, but anyway, it's about maintenance. People need to, and it's like everyone, you've got to clean your gutters in your house, you've got to clean the gutters and the roads. We've just had the biggest drought we've ever had, and I don't think there was a grader out there that cleaned the roads. But anyway, I'll move on. I get a bit passionate sometimes. I've been president of the Wee Waa Pony Club, PNC, president of Wee Waa Show Society, which was a huge job in itself when Daft Punk come to town. I nearly pulled all my hair out. That's probably why I'm grey. Thanks to the Chamber for inviting me here today. I'll answer it before you get to me, Russell. It's like every other group in the Shire. The council needs to listen to them. And I know a lot of the times the council puts these submissions up and asks for people to respond. A lot of people complain, but they don't come up and say anything about what's happening. You know, I don't know for how long we've asked for these crossings to go into the medium strip in the main street. I don't know what's happening. Have council said anything about it? I don't know, but I want to find out. So,
Right,
just to let you know, I'm that passionate.
Thanks, Brett.
Vote 1, Brett Dickinson.
Any questions from Rebecca? Yep, one up the back. It's a gap at the back, Cheryl. Whoa.
Hello, Fiona Robertson again. Talking about the council, talking about things not getting done, you have to ask the question. 42 people have left the council in a short time. When you have movement of staff like that, there is a big problem. A huge problem in council if people are leaving like that.
You know where it starts?
Would you agree? It starts at the top, it starts with management.
I was just about to say that.
I have heard in a small town like this, the bullying that goes on within the council is atrocious. I know people personally that have left because of bullying, in tears, depressed, suicidal, because of what has been going on in the council, and the rot has to stop. And it has to stop now.
Thanks for that. A lot of that I agree with you, but we've got to be careful of what sort of accusations you're making, ladies and gentlemen. Just be very careful of that, okay?
Yeah, and look, those things have got to be taken care of by the new council when they get in. So, you know, I worked there and I left because I'd had enough. So, just to let you know that. And I loved it. I loved the job there. And when I was roads overseer out at Wee Waa, I thought I did a pretty good job. Just ask a few Wee Waa people, I don't know. Thanks.
Oh,
any other questions?
Got a question up here, have we?
Talk
loud.
Anyway.
Good on you.
My name's Darrell Tiemens. I'm an Aboriginal person. I've been here for over 30 odd years, so I'm now classed as a part of Narrabri after you've been here for over 30. The thing is that I was part of the Aboriginal group that was attached to the Narrabri Shire a few years back when Margaret Illingsworth and then Ross Penton was still here with us. And as I told Ross Penton, we were the donut, we were the hole in the donut, because everywhere around us got grates on their main street windows. That's one of the things to be proud of with Narrabri. We can walk up our main street. We might get a busted window now and again, but there's no grate on that window. That's why I'm proud of Narrabri. We need lights.
Sorry?
We need the lights to be done in the streets. Our elderly people walking around, going for walks, late in the afternoon when it's nice and cool, there are no bright lights. Those lights in the street are too dull. We've got highway lights in the main street. Why is there highway lights in the main street? They should be on the highway.
Thanks, Darrell. Thanks, Darrell. Okay, thanks, Brett. Very good. So our next So number 6, Lisa Richardson. And she did a heap of Ks to get here today, so I appreciate that, Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you. I found out I'm allergic to pollen today, so that was really interesting. So I'm Lisa Richardson. I'm from Boggabri. Firstly, I want to pay my respects to the traditional owners of our land. We respect their elders past, present and emerging. I want to thank Russell for doing this, because without this information and I guess this platform, we wouldn't have this opportunity, and our community, which is what we're here for, wouldn't know what we stand for. And thank you, Jamie, for videoing. He's agreed to make me look really tan and slim. I'd also encourage everyone, the candidates that aren't here tonight, I want you to do the research. Watch the video that Jamie's going to do so you guys can make your informed decision. Just not with the ones that are here, but look, we're missing 5, and that's a big chunk with the independents. So, a bit about me. So, again, I'm Lisa Richardson. I've done business management when I was younger. I did my nursing degree. I found a passion and love with people, especially in the elder. So I worked for the Whitton Group, both here in Robert Young and Jesse Hunt. I currently work at a local mine, and I'm in my last semester of psychological sciences. So that's the first of 3 degrees to be able to apply to be a psychologist. And I want to do that to be in our area. So mental health, health in general is a big part of who I am. And I do that everywhere. I talk to everyone, I stop everyone. I think Boggabri is sick of me. It takes me half an hour to get a bottle of milk. So that's why I'm here. I want to be a voice for the people. I'm not afraid of speaking up. My work will also vouch for that. I don't have an issue. I'm not intimidated by older people, by the men in council or anything like that. I do think our council currently has some fantastic projects. I don't know them personally, so I'm not going to discredit anything that they've done in the past, because it's all about moving forward. We don't necessarily need to look back and badger those people because the decisions they made at the time might have been right at the time. We want to look to the future. We want to expand. We want to involve every single town. So I guess that's my biggest thing is communication. Again, a lot of candidates have been up here and said they don't feel like the smaller towns are getting the representation. Probably half of Narrabri don't even feel that they get that communication. And just being able to have that thing, send an email, I'll respond. If something can't be changed, at least explain to the community the why. And I think that'll actually calm us a lot down as well. I am liking the expansion that Narrabri is doing. It'd be really good to buy socks and undies in town, not off eBay or something. And I think a lot of the Narrabri people just had a chuckle then. So that's about me. I do want to reply to a couple of the questions as well. So Julie, you said about the children and the PCYC. I think that is important, and especially doing like psychology, it is important we have a space for our children. Otherwise, what option do they have? That means they're going to wander the streets.
I actually have something on the mental health side of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm actually the mother of a youth child. He's 13.
Yeah.
There is actually nothing, even though we have Headspace, there is no psychologist here. For me to travel, I have to take my child to Tamworth or Dubbo for support for his mental health.
Yeah.
I have a mental health action plan in the car with no services on it for him within our region.
That's the biggest thing. When I was nursing in this area, it come a lot, and I loved dementia. Like, I loved it, and the brain and that, just the similarities between dementia and mental health, and there's so much, like you can specialise in 20 different fields in psychology. So that happened back then. So as I said, it's 3 degrees, so it's a minimum of 6 years full-time study to do that psychologist, and that only means I can apply. But that was something I recognised, and I've taken on myself to do that for our community.
My door is open, but nobody in town, especially over at the other side of town, actually does not know where to get the help. There's nobody speaking to the community.
Yeah.
If you're elected, who's coming down to our level to speak to us?
I can take my heels off. At the end of the day, like I I walk around barefoot, guys. Like, I'm not a politician. I am one of you. Like, I brought my little cottage in Boggabri. I'm working my ass off to pay my mortgage to renovate it.
I actually stayed out at Boggabri for 6 months, so I'm proud to say I stayed out there. My children, their growth with the support out there was great.
Great, good conversation. Thanks very much.
And for the chamber, without businesses, there is no community. Without community, there is no businesses. It's as simple as that. We're two separate entities, but we have to come together. We have to consult each other because the demands need to be there and our community needs to be happy, or they do go to Tamworth and buy other products.
Okay.
So,
any questions? Quickly. We're running over time there. Yes. Question in the middle.
I'm just wondering how you would stand up to the bullying that I've been given by Inland Rail and ARTC. The worst group of people I've dealt with. And I'm an engineer with 40 years experience. The current route is an engineering and economic embarrassment. It needs to be fixed. All I get told is it will not change. Who made them God?
Well, they shouldn't be. So that's part of what I was saying before. It's a consultation. So if they aren't going to change it, you would expect they can at least give you an answer why. I don't know 100% of the ins and outs, and I understand, and I've spoken with Fiona about this. You're just getting a brick wall, and that's not acceptable. You at least deserve an answer to why it is where it is and why it can't change. And who knows, like the new council might go, okay, we need to make adjustments. This is a big priority and a big opportunity for our town. Let's get it right from day one.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
You.
Thanks, Lisa. Terrific. Our next candidate is Cathy Redding, current Deputy Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much, Russell. I would also like to pay my respects to our elders, past, present and emerging, and also to the Gomeroi people on the land that we stand today, on the Kamilaroi land. And also like to thank the Chamber for organising this event. It's really important for the community to know who the candidates are and what they're passionate about and what they want to stand for. I am Cathy Redding, an independent candidate standing for Narrabri Shire local government elections on the 4th of December. I'm a small business owner. I am passionate about our Shire and I work hard for any of the community's concerns. My vision for the Shire is to continue on the path of economic growth and financial stability that we are currently on. I would like to see that continue into the future. It will certainly set our Shire up well into the future. And I would also like to see us become a major industrial, freight and logistics hub. The major hub in the northwest, which will certainly guarantee jobs. It's a guarantee of growth, and that is what we are aiming for. As a returning standing councillor, I have 13 years experience in council. 4 years as mayor, 4 years as deputy mayor, and 5 years as a councillor. My values and views have not changed from the day that I first stood. The only thing that's changed is I now have a better understanding of what local government is all about. The making of a successful council must be made up of a diverse range of councillors who can all represent every aspect of our Shire. As a small business owner, I understand the rewards and challenges operating a business in the Shire's present economic position. Continued economic growth is a key priority for me within our Shire, including the establishment of the Northern New South Wales Inland Port, attracting new industry and businesses, maintaining and increasing our education facilities, pursuing further services in our health system, ensuring that we are providing our community with as safe a possible place that we can for them to live. I'm a forward-thinking councillor. I don't like to go backwards. I like to look to the future. And effective planning is the key to the growth of any shire. Planning in housing, industries, jobs, education, health and safety is what a council is made up of. But a council cannot do all this by themselves. And that is where I believe effective collaboration with other peak bodies is vitally important. Not only state and federal government, but also with local agencies, such as our Chamber of Commerce, who were the pushers behind getting the chemotherapy treatment in our Shire's health service, and NGOs such as the Neighbourhood and District Community Aid Service, who care for our homelessness, domestic violence shelter and our youth. They have recently opened a youth centre. It's now up and running for the youth to attend. This is a small example of services that are out there, but they do make a huge difference, especially our volunteers. During my 13 years as a councillor, I've seen various management plans put in place and acted on, such as the CBD upgrade in Narrabri, Boggabri and Weewar, Narrabri West Lake upgrade, 12 of our 13 timber bridges have been upgraded. Pilliga, Wobbegar, Ballatta and Barmbar have all had a central community plan implemented and established, which gives them all a brand new playground, a space where the community can gather. They've also had their water upgraded with new bores, which will give them water security well into the future. And Barmbar now has a state-of-the-art potable water system for the first time ever. And the other thing that I'm really proud about is I work for the community. I've been involved in the Narrabri Jockey Club running the annual race meeting for around 35 years. I'm one of the original founders of the establishment of our Country University Centre, which now allows our children to go from preschool right through to a university degree, which in turn helps retain our youth within our shire, because our future is with our youth.
Thanks, Cathy. Terrific. And you've already answered the question about the Chamber of Commerce,
Absolutely.
I noticed.
Yes.
So that's very good. Do we have any questions? Straight up here again. That's the question row.
Yes, it is. I want to know what's the point of putting parks and working in the communities out at Pilliga and stuff like that if the roads you can't get out there. They are horrendous. There is potholes bigger than my bar.
I do know where you're coming from there, and I do agree there are still roads out there that need a lot of work, particularly lately where we've had a lot of rain. The roads will start to get fixed, and then the rain will come and it will go again. But I believe with our roads, what we need to do with them, we need to get it right the first time.
And why is the youth centre only accessible for children that are suspended from school? It's a referral-based place for children to go.
I really don't think that's the case with NDCAS's youth centre.
I have tried.
I'll have to leave that up to you to take it up with them, but my understanding was that it was open to all the youth around the Shire.
It is open to youth as long as they're there to do schoolwork.
Coral.
It's not a safe place.
I want to know whether the road, which was done in 2009, I think it was, when from Wobbegar to Narrabri, all the shires got together, Namble Shire, Collie Shire, Narrabri Shire, all got together. They got all this money put there to put the bitumen right through the college. That road had never been done, and yet they had the funds to do it. So why has all this happened?
I'm afraid I can't answer that for you, Cole.
You were on the council at that time, so...
No, I'm afraid I wasn't.
It's bitumen from Byron to Cole.
Yes, and
it's not bitumen from Wobbegar. No, from Wobbegar all the way through to Corrigan.
all I can say is there has been funding received for a major upgrade on the Pilliga Road.
Thanks for that. Up the back, a friend at the back.
Fiona Robertson again. I have a question, but I'm not quite sure on my facts, so just bear with me. You're talking about the hub, the rail hub?
The
Inland Rail Hub?
Northern New South Wales Inland Port.
Oh, thank you. So the port, is my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the trains aren't going to stop there?
No, the trains will not stop anywhere between Brisbane and Melbourne and Brisbane. They may stop once. Yeah. They may stop once for a change of driver.
Right. So what's the point of the hub?
The whole idea of how shires can make use of this inland rail line is to develop areas such as the Northern New South Wales Inland Port, which will attract industries, it will attract logistics hubs.
No, I disagree. To me it's useless.
And from that hub, those industries will then...
Get your facts right first.
Those industries will then be able to access the inland rail line. They will be able to take their produce anywhere within Australia. So that is.
They can jump online.
They can get on that line. Yes.
Right. So there's like a little factory thing there that people can get. Okay.
That's exactly right.
Thank you. Oh, one more question. Well, you can come to the middle now, Cheryl.
Cathy Ross Gleeson. Many years ago, and former Mayor George Seville can attest to this, Council had a program of footpath renewal and new footpaths, curb and gutter renewal, rural roads renewal. Nothing at the moment, from what I can see and have been told in the budgets for several years, has been spent on footpaths, curb and gutter, rural roads in Narrabri, Weewar, Boggabri and the rest of the Shire. My question to you is, where is the money being spent?
Well, I can tell you now, Ross, at every budget review that I go to and have been to in the last few years, there's always a number of curb and gutterings, there's a number of rural roads and there's a number of footpaths. I will say that during the last 2 years of the COVID-19 pandemic, Council is a business, no different than what a business that a majority of you own. You have suffered through this pandemic. So has Council. We have closed the Crossing Theatre. You know, we've closed our swimming pools. We've closed our libraries. But we still have the overheads, no different than what you do. So in that respect, yes, there has been cuts in the last couple of years. There's been cuts in curb and guttering. There's been cuts in road funding. There's been cuts everywhere across the board. But hopefully, with this pandemic lifting, things can start to get back to normal.
Last question. Cathy's had a few. More than a share.
As Cathy knows, I've asked questions to Council before about the issues of transparency. Do you think our Council is transparent? And you never tell the truth?
I will answer this as to what I know and what I am told in reports, what I read in reports that come to Council, and my answer is yes.
Thanks for that.
You.
Thanks, Cathy.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Greg Lamont, come on down.
Thank you very much, Russell, and the Chamber for allowing this to occur. I think this is a very important opportunity, as has been said by every other speaker and every other candidate. where the community can get a chance to ask them questions. Now, I'm a member of Group A, and our message is, if you like what we're saying, and I'm going to give you a little bit of that in a moment, vote 1 above the line. That's how it works. You've got 2 options when you vote. You either go below the line or you go above the line. If you mix them up and go above the line and below the line, it's an informal vote. And there's a couple of chaps in the room that probably remember that when they stood for council, using the old group story. So, very important thing to remember. Above the line, 1 or 2, or just a 1, either group. We want you to go Group A and give Rohan Group 2. Below the line, you can get into trouble if you start mixing above the line and below the line. So you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and if you want to vote below the line with the groups, you can do that too by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because there's only 5 in each group, or you can go 1, 2 for some of our group, 3, 4 for some in Rowan's, and go right through to 13, 14, 15 with the ungrouped. That's how it works. Okay, just so that you know. Now, who am I? I was born in Narrabri. I'm the only person, I'd say, in New South Wales that's ever worked in the 4 councils in Narrabri. I went to Narrabri High and went straight into the county, moved away because we had to progress. I'm a former qualified local government person, and what local government is about, it's not as a business, it's trying to run itself as a business, but it's built on the principles of looking after the ratepayer and the community. That's what it's built around. And that's where councils get into trouble, when they think they're running a business and they're not really. Although, over the years, the state government has put a lot of pressure on councils to, with user pay and to be fit for the future and things of that nature. Now, I represent a group today as a spokesperson. Our theme is back to the basics. Now, that is nothing to do with going backwards, as some pundits out there are trying to portray us. What we're about is what I'm hearing from all the candidates previous to me is truth, because we, if elected, will tell the truth. Contrary to what the former mayor just said there a moment ago, if you're in the inner sanctum of the council, you know what the truth is. And they have little workshops and group meetings and a whole range of things where they're briefed by senior management. Now, bear in mind, senior management works for the council. The council are elected by you, the people, to make a difference. And the general manager and their team work for the council and you. They are paid by you, residents and ratepayers. Now, we've identified that because of what we know to be the issues out there, truth and our experience, truth is what you have to portray yourself as, elected person. Transparency. If they won't come to your meetings to find out about the truth, go to them, tell them the truth. Have workshops, get your consultants in, invite people in, because what happens every year when the council puts its budget out and calls for submissions, or after each election we've got to review the organisation structure, they've got business papers, they've got a community strategic plan, they invite you to come along, but human beings, we don't do that very well. So council should be going to it. Have any of you ever tried to go and address council at a meeting through public forum, and you've got a page and you've got to give your life away? That's so intimidating for people to want to raise an issue about council. Why can't council be one of openness and transparency? You've got nothing to lose. The trouble, and hearing the commentators there earlier, the candidates, people don't like making hard decisions. Our group will make hard decisions. I'm a former general manager, and a business person. I'm currently the Executive Officer of the Association of Mining and Energy Related Councils. Someone out there saying our group's against mining and against coal seam gas. That's rubbish. Now, efficiency is our other theme. Efficiency is where you get the issues I've heard here today. Staff turnover, very, very high. Leadership at the top is critical. It all comes from management downwards. The poor staff don't know what's going on because there's a changeover in supervisor. There's a change in attitude all the time because the senior officers come to town. So where your efficiencies come from, you look at things like your workers' compensation premiums. Narrabri Shire Council workers' comp is 3.5% higher than Morees and Gunnedas. Why? So you look at workers' comp as an indicator, then you look at the staff turnover as an indicator, you've got problems, haven't you? So we aim as a council to work on efficiency. They're our themes.
Thanks, Greg.
Tell the truth, be transparent and be efficient. And the final thing I'll say, Russell, the final thing is council's corporate values, that document there, integrity, ensuring transparency and honesty in all our activities. Leadership, providing guidance and direction to our community and our people, and customer focus, delivering prompt, courteous and helpful services, being responsible to the community's changing needs, accountability, accepting our responsibility for the provision of quality services information. And I'm disappointed that there's poor Cathy Redding's had to wear the brunt of the continuing councillors. They're not here to show their face, despite their reasons.
Thanks, Greg.
Yes,
my number one question.
I love the Chamber of Commerce. I'm a member.
hey, but where do you see the role?
Oh, council has to be involved. In every council I've worked at as a general manager, I always made sure the mayor and I went along to the chamber meetings, and when they had progress associations, to help them, we would provide the admin support. Because they can't, poor Cheryl, she's a worn-out secretary, so the council helped that. That's how the council can get involved. There's so many simple solutions to things. And when you've got inexperienced people, they don't know, they can't find those solutions.
Cheryl, down the front this time.
Wanda Dunnett. Greg, I've got a question about the groups and how they work.
Yes.
So above the line you've got Group A, Group B. Below the line, you've got all the people in Group A, all the people in Group B, and then you've got the remaining the candidates. If Group A gets up, does that mean that constitutes 5 people on the council? And then only there's another 4 can be elected from the remaining councillors?
Only an experienced ex-general manager can answer this. I've worked around local government at probably too many councils. And ran elections when I was out of local government, and it's one of those fundamentals that you don't forget is how to run elections, because that's when we used to do it. The councils used to do it; they don't do it anymore. Now, what happens is the quota system is there. So, say you've got 10,000 voters, and you've got a quota. You divide it by the number of candidates, and then you add 1 to it. I think it goes like that, Lester, somewhere. Is that right? Something like that. So above the line, if they, in order to get elected, it's like an ascending situation, right? Or a descending situation, I mean. So the number 1 of the group it gets the first quota, and then it flows down to the second quota and the third quota. Now, it's highly unlikely, because Carol wouldn't be part of our group if this was the case, and maybe Billy Phillips, but the bottom line is that those in the lower part of the group, it's highly unlikely that they'd get elected. Okay?
So even though you vote A, not the whole 5 get in?
No, because of the quota system where everyone else is getting votes elsewhere. And the only way they can get elected, they've got to get a quota, or they start excluding from below, and then they're left in last man standing. You need 9, and you've got 9 left.
Okay, so if
that's
your
how it
group
works.
Gets in, you're not guaranteed the whole 5 will get in?
No, that's right. if we have a landslide and we get enough for 5 quotas, sorry Carol, sorry Bill, sorry John, we're all in. And that's a possibility, because the bottom line here is, by having truth, transparency and efficiency and experience, is we go in and fix those things and build on the good work that's already been done by Narrabri Shire. You know, we build on that, and that's where we go forward. And it's good to hear refreshing attitudes of some younger ladies in particular who put their hand up to stand for council. It's good to have that female voice in there, and it's good to have fresh ideas. But the bottom line is, it's complex, difficult, and one that you should get enjoyment out of, but it'd be a lot of hard work and a lot of time reading documents.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Wanda. Okay. Next cab off the rank, Maryanne McDonald. Come on down.
Well, our last candidate's going to be a hard act to follow, but anyway, I'm Maryanne McDonald. Hi. I became involved in, well, I wanted to be a candidate when I saw an ad in the paper about having more women in council. I think that's going to be a really important thing for us. Okay, so a little bit about me. I moved to Narrabri in 1997. I met the love of my life, a Narrabri boy, born and bred in 1999. I started working at a Cagle Street preschool pretty much as a volunteer. I had my 2 children in there. I didn't leave, so the then director offered me a job, which she said, if you're not going to leave, I might as well just employ you. That led to me having a 11-year career in childcare. I became the authorised supervisor for family daycare, in-home care, long day care before and after school care. We were a big part of what we did. New Train Children's Services built the long day care centre out at Manila, which was quite an achievement for us. After that, I took a step back from that role and worked with Cotton Grower Services, CGS, here in Narrabri. We've got depots, well, there's 11 depots. We've got them in Queensland, down in Hay, Hillston. I've been with CGS now for 11 years in an administrative role. They helped me and supported me to get a diploma in business administration, which was great. Throughout my time here, my children have been involved in, well, obviously, preschool, scouts, tennis, cricket, softball. I was with Russell as a PNC and the treasurer of the PNC of the high school. I'm very passionate about seeing infrastructure put into Narrabri. I'd like to see more opportunities for our young people. My children have left Narrabri looking for jobs elsewhere, which is heartbreaking. One's in the Northern Territory, one's in Queensland. Obviously, we haven't seen them for quite some time. I would like to see, let me read this. I'd like to continue to support our council in what they've done already with the pathways, and the things that I've seen happening around town have been really pretty impressive. We are Narrabri Shire, not just Narrabri. I'm a bit distressed about the empty shops or the empty business premises up the main street, and this is pre-COVID. I mean, why don't we have new businesses? Why don't we support or encourage new business to come to town? It's, you know, like, as was mentioned earlier, socks and undies, that'd be great. Even shoes, you know, buy a pair of shoes in town, a bit difficult. I personally travel to Tamworth because it's there and it's not here. These are the things that I think we can improve, and we should improve, and we should definitely bring some stuff back to Narrabri. Okay.
Wow, short and sweet. That's terrific. Now, you haven't said the mandatory question.
Oh, I think we
because
should
you're going to be held to this. This is all on video.
Well, okay. We should be working, we should be transparent, we should be in partnerships. Obviously, the Chamber is very good for council, and council should be very good for the Chamber, so why not? Why not be a partnership? Why not be, you know, supporting and helping each other?
Terrific stuff. I agree with you.
Questions?
Question up the back. Sorry, Cheryl.
I have a pretty big voice. Karen Kirkby, you mentioned your kids have moved away. How do we keep our young here engaged and really loving a job in a regional area? How do we attract them, keep them, and train and educate them?
Why do they move away? Why do they move away? They're chasing the money, they're chasing the dollars. So when you get to a metropolitan area, they pay much more than you do in a rural area. So how can we fix that? We obviously need to have better wages and better structures for our people here in a rural setting. That's my opinion.
Our friends at the back.
what leadership programs do we have outside of the schools here?
Good question.
What have they got to follow? There's nothing out there besides school. There's school-based traineeships in the feds. Where is their support from leaving high school? What leadership roles have they got to follow coming out of high school?
Good question.
So I want to answer that, if you don't mind, even though I'm not a candidate.
Thank you.
I'm going to make a huge statement here tonight, and Cheryl and the rest of the chamber will tear me apart when I walk out of here. But I want to offer Narrabri Chamber of Commerce as a support group to kids going from year 10 to year 11. And I'm more than happy if there's interest there to support a junior chamber. And I think that'll give quite a lot of young people the insight to a lot of employers. Girl, we'll talk later. Sorry?
How about other people get a right to reply? This is your show, Russell. Invite some other candidates to come down and answer that question.
Happy to do that when we're finished with our last contestant tonight, or candidate, which is John Clements.
I think that we've got to get back to why we're here. Councils normally run for 4 years. This one will run for a little under 3 years because COVID made the other one run a bit overtime. What we need, and councillors are a board of management. That's what they are. Their job is to set the vision, to set the policies, to review certain matters. And what we need to be sure of is that we put a good team in there. And the team needs to have diversity. There's no doubt. We've heard from a lot of people tonight. You need diversity. You need people from different backgrounds, different experiences. Life's not simple for most people, and you need people with life experience. You do particularly need a couple of creatures as well. You need people who can take on a bureaucracy, who can manage a bureaucracy. It disturbs me that this council has lost so many staff. These staff aren't leaving easily. They're leaving in tears, many of them. What I want to do, if I'm elected, is to actually go and seek out those staff, and if they're willing to have them interviewed in confidence and find out why they left. I want to know what's happening. There's a culture is so important in an organisation, and the culture of this organisation, I'm sorry, it's not a good one because people are leaving. Local people who are very skilled are leaving. Long-term people are leaving. And worse than that, it's not a council that listens, and that's just a simple fact. It's so hard to get involved in any of the processes. I'm treating this as a job interview. I'm just going to read something. I should never do that, but I'm going to do it. And then I just want to pull up, and really what I want to hear is some questions. You want to find out what I'm going to do? Ask me some questions. So my name's John Clements. I'm seeking your number one vote in the upcoming Narrabri Shire Council elections. I'm below the line. Many people here tonight are below the line. If you want to go and pick and choose, vote below the line. You can vote for Greg's group, you can vote for Rohan's group, but vote below the line. You can go and pick out who you want that diverse team to be. You've got to do it. At least 5 boxes if you're below the line. Do more than that, okay? I live in Weewar, I work in Narrabri. My wife and I have 3 boys living in the Shire. 2 are self-employed, 1 is doing his trade, so our boys stayed here. Over the years I've been the chairman of Narrabri District Community Aid Services, and I was the first executive officer of Namoy Water in its inaugural year and stayed in that role for 5 years. I've worked as an advisor to state MPs, Commonwealth MPs and senators. I have a good understanding of bureaucracies and governments. I have good commercial grounding. I chaired the project control group on a state significant project for Minderee beef. They employed 900 people in Inverell. I put together equity funding and joint venture agreements for industrial land development projects. I understand social services, and I understand what it takes to get a major development project approved and how you get those people to come. I served on Narrabri Shire Council from 2008 till 2012, and I enjoyed the 4 years. I was too busy to stand again at that time. Local government is principally involved in service delivery of town water, picking up rubbish, the maintenance of roads, provision of sports facilities. These are the roles that are well understood. Local government is also seen by the state and Commonwealth governments as an important message to deliver on what communities are concerned about. That's a key role of local government. It's not the core role, but it's a key role. All organisations run on continuity of long-term staff and the strength of management processes, including in this case the councillors, and that's just so key for us to consider tonight. I intend to bring the benefits of my experience and knowledge to ensure that we have a council focused on efficient service delivery and the attraction of progressive and successful business ventures. I've been involved in the highest levels of government in this country, and I'm not won over by bluster and poor practice. I'll insist on seeing the actual business case and the external advice sought, if any, for the investment of millions of dollars of ratepayer money on the say-so of ventures that haven't even committed to investment yet. I'm really looking for questions. Thank you.
Beat me to it, folks. Question time.
First question. A council that doesn't listen is a failed council. Simple as that. And I went to Weewar Chamber tonight, and I heard, and I went to the presentation on the high school, and then I got in the car and I drove down here because I know you've got to keep turning up. If you want to know what's going on, you have to keep turning up. So.
Question, Lester
Lester Kelly. John, if you're at the presentation in Weewar, what is happening with Weewar High School?
Well, finally they're actually talking to the broader community. It's a nice looking design. Finally people can have a look at what's happening. I think the process to date hasn't been good. It's been a bit undercover and people are disturbed with that and they're worried, but tonight I saw some things that were pretty good. Don't know what they're going to do with the Mitchell Highway and kids crossing the road, no pedestrian crossing, but the school itself looks good, looks modern, it'd be really good for the town.
Just further, the site was a worry at Weewar?
Yeah,
are we going to do community consultation or not?
Well, they need to. Tonight I think was the start. Today was when the community actually finally got to look at some detail. So yeah, I think we're on the track. Can we grab another one, please?
Up the middle.
Russell, thank you. Ross Gleeson, John. You certainly touched on this culture in council. I'd just like, Russell, these aren't accusations, these are actual figures. Council generally has between 65 and 70 indoor staff down here in the building. Indoor staff. Since the 1st of July 2019, so that's in 2 years and 4.5 months, 40, not 42, 40, I've got the list here, of those staff have either been sacked or have left. Of that 40, 12 were managers and 3 were directors. That 40 represents between 57 and 61%, depending on whether they've got 65 or 70 people there. So, John, from what you said, I guess you would regard that as a toxic work culture. That's my question. Do you regard that as a toxic work culture? And secondly, and you have touched on this, how, as a councillor, are you going to solve that?
Okay, look, I think clearly there's something wrong with the work culture. Toxic's probably the word. We need, as a council, to find those people, respectfully find them, and ask them if they're willing, even in confidence, to set it up so we can actually go and interview them in a way that's respectful for them and careful of them. Many of them aren't in good shape, and find out what their experiences were. We need a review of the management processes and the structure. Any organisation, if this was actually a commercial organisation, would be failing right now with that sort of staff management.
Thank you.
One more question over here.
Yeah. We've had 65 sacked. Why were each one of them sacked?
They're not sacked. They're leaving. They're people. They're local people in well-paid jobs who are leaving. You've got to ask yourself what's happening there.
For those that are present here tonight, my name is Robert Neal, and I am currently serving councillor until the 4th of December. I'd just like to give the audience here a little bit of a reality check when it comes to staff. We as councillors would be in breach of the code of conduct if we go as councillors and interview staff members. So for anyone that's going to stand up here tonight and tell us as the voters as to what you're going to do in relationship to interviewing staff and finding out about the so-called toxic culture. Now we, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the other councillors, but I can certainly speak on the fact that we as councillors acknowledge that there must be some issues for that number of staff to be transient in council, if I can put it that way. I spent 38 years in local government, so I'm probably one of the most experienced here tonight in how it runs. Now, I worked there, as I say, worked within local government for 38 years, and I thought when I stood 5 years ago that that would be an advantage. I've since found out over the last 5 years that yes, it is an advantage, but it's also a disadvantage, unfortunately. Having a stable workforce is probably the most important thing that can happen with councils. And we acknowledge that it hasn't necessarily been as stable as we as current councillors would like it to be. But again, I reiterate, and I'll finish up here, is that we as councillors would be in breach of the Code of Conduct if we were to go and start interviewing staff and finding out what the issues are.
Okay, let me put that away straight away. This is the difference between a good team and a team that's inept. It's natural to defend your legacy, but I didn't say we would interview. I said we would implement. That's when you take charge. When you're a board and you take charge, we will move a resolution. If it's supported, we will require that this be carried out by the staff, and that's what a good council can do. This is the difference between a passenger and being a leader.
So thanks.
I'll answer that.
No, you won't.
As the right of reply and say
he's not a candidate.
Good luck.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Rob. Question at the front. Question at the front.
How many of those 40 odd people have exit interviews?
I don't know. We'll find that out. But this is just a part of what needs to be sorted out. You know, there's a lot more than this. You know, another councillor said that the COVID, the impact of shutting the pool and crossing theatre impacted revenue. They're loss-making ventures. Shutting them would actually give you more positive revenue. You know, these are the things that you just got to start to ask yourself, what's going on here? You know, where's the money going? There's a whopping big venture out there that's got millions into it. I can't see a business case. I can't see where it's going. And if you want to lead, you've got to get in there and you've got to make sure that you actually start to ask the questions and you require the answers. And if you've got to go external to get them, you go external to get them. I mean, you know, this is a serious business. This is ratepayer money getting put into something that I can't see a business case in yet. You know, go up the road, go the other way, big developments. Here, nothing. I can tell you something. As a human being, I've been involved recently in getting a guy to relocate from Perth. He's a bloke I met when I worked in the Commonwealth Parliament. 250 jobs will go to Narrabri. 250 jobs. I brought him here first. Couldn't find a block. Now, it's going to Narrabri. He's just been funded by the state government to relocate from Perth. 250 jobs. And you talk about young people. I talked to him today. You know, we've got a training program we'll set up over there. We've got pathways, and you're dead right. When children leave school at the moment, it's like a jungle. They've got to walk around the jungle and hope they can find their way.
Thank you. Okay, John.
I'm happy to take more.
No. John, I know you will. So, ladies, no doubt, John, you'll be available shortly for any questions and or any statements. So, ladies and gentlemen, you thought that was the end of the show, but Knoxy slipped out without answering that chamber question. Come up here, mate. I want to know where Councillor Knox would see a good relationship, partnership with Narrabri District Chamber of Commerce and Narrabri Shire Council.
Yeah, well, as far as I'm concerned, Council and Chamber need to work together to, enhance the town. Particularly attracting more business to the town. I'm sure there are a lot of companies out there that want to bring other people up here. Other staff members, they can get their business going properly in the town here. So, and working with Chamber is a good way to do that, I think.
Thanks, Les. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of the evening. I have had a request, and we are almost to our 2 hours, and that'll mean we're turning into pumpkins. So, I have had a request from a candidate to respond to an earlier question. I think it was in relation to youth. Is that right? Can I get a show of hands if you're happy for that to happen? Looks like the majority. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Russell, for the opportunity. Look, the whole thing about youth is that we're underinvesting. We're only underinvesting because we don't have the money. The money is disappearing into black holes because it's improperly managed. We've talked about I'm calling it a toxic culture, but it's certainly a very bad culture in there. So when you've got lack of productivity inside the business, that Cathy calls a business, I don't call it a business, it's a government, it's here for us. So we must take control of the budget. That's what John said. You know, we have to actually take control, demand the answers, fix the problems, and get on with it. Now we talked about the workers' compensation, the actual savings, if Narrabri had the same rate of insurance for workers' comp, we would save $672,000 per year. There's 8 people in HR, 2 are needed, so there's another $600,000. That's $1.2 million per year without making any changes to the budget. You can imagine what in 10 years we could do with $12 million put to youth. Would we suddenly have a town that was really, really humming? This is what I'm saying. You have to reinvest the savings in our community.
Thanks, Roland. You didn't even get your 2 minutes, mate. Thank you very much. So, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. So we have come to the end of the evening. I want to say what a pleasure it is for Chamber to host this evening. I think it's a it's fairly new thing. You've shown us by your presence that it's something that you require. I know that we've received phone call after phone call inquiring about the event. I think tonight's proven we live in the best country in the world. It's terrific, isn't it, that we can stand here and disagree with one another and walk out alive. Fantastic, isn't it? Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, Ronald, Tully here. Just wanted to tell you a bit about myself. So I am a candidate for the December 4th elections here for the Narrabri Shire. I live in Weewaw, have done for the past 18 years. I've been involved a lot throughout the Shire in many committees, whether it be show societies, Chamber of Commerce, current Weewaw Chamber of Commerce President. In that time I've seen a lot through the community. I've seen our Shire growing, and I thought it was a great time to put my hand up to be a voice for not only Weewaw but the entire Narrabri Shire. So as you're well aware, we're coming into a great little period here in the Shire with not only resource but inland rail and of course agriculture and tourism. One thing I'd like to see as well is just the small business side. So it's quite obvious that big business is coming to town and it's great times ahead for our Shire, but I'd like to see the small business go ahead as well. Fill a few shop fronts through all our towns, you know, those smaller communities as well. Provide a bit better access. Tourism's coming a long way as well. You know, we've got some great facilities out here, and with the recent pandemic, it's encouraged people to travel within our country, and I think we need to really promote the Shire and all the wonderful things about it. So I guess I'm just asking for your vote on December 4th. Come down Saturday, vote for Ronald Tully, and yeah, we'll see some good local focused progress.